Good morning, YouTube. Hope everyone is well. You currently join me on Monday, the 4th of May. Hope everyone is having a lovely bank holiday weekend so far and has been able to chill out, have a little bit more downtime. So I haven't picked up the camera in a couple weeks. Less than ideal, I know. Unfortunately, I was in a really good routine with YouTube. And then a couple weeks ago, I took the DJI to the gym, aimed to film a bit of like a full kind of upper session breakdown type thing. And picked up the DJI ready to record. Had no SD card in it, left it in my laptop, which was brilliant. Unfortunately that YouTube video never was made. And then last weekend I was pretty unwell. Had a bit of a stomach bug, which took me out of the gym for about 6 days, which is a little bit frustrating. Ended up dropping like 10 pounds in 4 days, which was pretty significant, which was less than ideal, but it's just one of those things and one of those little setbacks that you just unfortunately have to work around and move past. My body weight is slowly coming back up to its normal baseline now. It's taken me a good week to kind of get it back up to a normal baseline. I think I dropped somewhere from like 195 pounds all the way down to 186. So 195 is like my usual baseline, but on the Tuesday morning when I got ill, on the Tuesday morning I was 197 pounds, and then by the Friday midday I weighed myself and I was 186. So it was about 11 pounds. Now of course my body weight was already a little bit elevated from just on that Tuesday anyway at 197. That's quite a high weigh-in for me. That's actually the most I've weighed this off season, but usually it kind of sits around the 194 195 mark. But yeah, to still drop down to 186 pounds was pretty severe. So yeah, unfortunately wasn't in the best position to obviously film. I did have all intentions of filming that weekend as well. And then this week has just been basically a week of getting back into my normal routine. Ran 2 devolume sessions when I got back into the gym, because obviously I hadn't trained in 6 days. And then the session last Friday was my kind of first full volume session back. And it's been fairly decent. I just need to get back into like the momentum of training again and start building that kind of positive momentum, which I speak about a lot with clients and stuff, is, you know, just stacking up these good sessions across the board, and you find that you're training confidence and also that momentum builds, and therefore you just productively had very good sessions across your kind of gaining phase. That is the full little bit of a rundown. Exciting week ahead though, with Mr. Willie B stepping on stage this Sunday. It's the first show of the season for him and the first show of the season for the team. So I'm very excited for that. It's just a little bit of a warm-up show for him. It's fairly local to us. Unfortunately, with us being in Kent, a lot of the shows are in the Midlands or up north, and it's quite a lot of travel. It's like 3 or 4 hours away. So this was a little bit of an early show for him. It's fairly local. It's only about an hour away for us. And we're pretty much like, I'm doing his tan, we're going to glaze him, etc. So it's a fairly like low stress show. And it's an untested show for him as well. So him being a natural athlete, he's obviously going to be going up against guys with assistance, but mainly the main goal out of this show is just for him to gain some good stage experience and for him to actually enjoy it as well, because his main shows are coming up in 3 and 4 weeks time, so that'll be exciting as well. So for this video, I thought what I'd do is a little bit of a breakdown on my lower session, which I filmed on Saturday. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a run through, do a voiceover from the session as well, as I don't believe I've done a voiceover on a session in a while. So hopefully I can give a few pointers, just give you an overall breakdown on why the session's programmed the way it is. And yeah, we can go from there. So without further ado, let's jump into the voiceover. All right, people, so voiceover for lower A. Like I was saying in the intro to this video, this was my first full volume lower session back. So it was a little bit more challenging than usual, just because my body weight is still not back to its baseline. And this was the first kind of lower volume session back. And obviously coming off the back of an illness, I had to be slightly realistic. Unfortunately, I did figure that out early on in the session with RDLs by only taking 210 for 4, and my previous best is 210 for 6. But the first thing you want to think about with RDLs is just initiating from the hips. So staying within a safe range, minimal knee flexion and keeping a neutral spine. Everyone's RDLs will look slightly different just due to everyone's biomechanics are very, very different. But the main thing is you're staying in a safe position, especially for myself as well, who's had lower back issues in the past. Then moving on to the Gym AT seat ham. Now, this is a really good piece, but unfortunately in my gym, it's slightly worn out. Like the thigh pad is very, very worn, so you have to use a yoga mat. You also have to use like a pin from a cable stack to keep the thigh pad in place, because the pin on the actual machine is slightly worn out as well. But the way I'd like to set up my isolation work for legs is actually using the same load for both sets and then just allowing the reps to drop off. So the first set would be like a 10 to 12, and then the second set would be an 8 to 10. So I was using 120 here. I'm not too sure if it's pounds or kilos. And then I got, I think, 11 reps on the first set and then 8 reps on the second set. So naturally just allowing those reps to fall off or drop off, but also keeping the load very, very similar. And the reason I like to do this, especially for hamstring work, is I get a very, very good internal feel off a higher rep set first, and that kind of internal feel then carries onto the second set. So it's a similar premise with the leg extension as well. So what I'm thinking about here with the leg extension is keeping my feet in dorsiflexion and driving my toes up to the ceiling, and also just keeping myself pinned down as much as I can. So I use a seatbelt on this, and I also use wrist straps. Again, creating more stable environment is going to create more force output. I like to load the leg extension, the prime leg extension, primarily on the middle pin. And the reason for that is just due to my knees. I always find that as I get stronger, and if I load the top peg, where it's going to bias more of that length and range, that's where I get the most knee pain. So for me, that doesn't really make much sense. I've tried, dropping the load down before and working my way back up, but I always run into knee issues. So just loading this mid peg always seems to work out very, very well for me. So I do, again, 2 sets, same load. First set is around that 10 to 12 mark, and then the second set is around that 8 to 10 mark. So yeah, 2 nice good sets here. I was really happy with these 2. Again, like little tips when it comes to leg extension, keeping those adductors engaged as well, and thinking about stacking the joints or aligning the joints so your ankle, knees and hip joints are all within line. Then moving on to the Gymleco hack. So what I've done for this session is I've actually swapped around some of the styles of sets. So I start with a pause set, just a micro pause, nothing too crazy. I don't really count them. I just make sure that I take away the momentum, hold the pause in the stretch, and then drive back up. So I start with a pause set, and then I move on to the 1.5 sets after. So this was 4 plates for 6, I believe. I was pretty happy with this. I was happy with the standardized pausing as well. Again, with the pause work, it's just making sure that the pauses are standardized and that the actual load stops moving. Like you see a lot of people when they do paused work, it's not really a pause. It just looks like they've got good control within that change of direction. But yeah, here I actually wanted to make sure that it was a decent pause, and I was fairly happy with 4 plates for 6 there. Then moving on to the 1.5 sets, I've just realized I'm in desperate need of a tan. The reason for 1.5s, it's very simple. It's hard. You don't see a lot of people doing 1.5 sets, and I challenge anyone to give them a go, especially on something like a squat pattern, like a pendulum or a hack. They are very, very challenging. But also I think they have a good cross transfer in terms of the bracing pattern. Like the brace is everything on a 1.5 set to initiate that brace early on for the first rep, and then also the half rep that's following it. So you have to learn that bracing pattern really, really well. And I do think that transfers across to my normal straight sets and my normal continuous sets on this movement as well. So bracing patterns are massive when it comes to any type of training, even especially leg training. Like if you can nail your brace, you're more likely to have productive sets. So see a lot of people lose composure within their leg training, and then their brace goes, and therefore they're actually losing out on some stimulus. Then moving on to the Bulgarians on the pro squat. Absolutely been loving this machine. Now on 4.5 plates. I'm chasing down 5 plates per side on this. But yeah, really, really like the setup here. Again, stable environment, creating about a 90-degree angle between my my knee and my hip, and just keeping a very, very good control throughout the whole set as well. Especially as I get stronger on this, I've got to really make sure that I'm controlling every portion of the movement. So yeah, I think I got 4.5 for 8 here, which is a matched PB. So very, very happy with that. I always do my less dominant leg first as well. So my left leg is, I would say, fairly weaker than my right, and my right's just my normal dominant leg. So it's kind of expected. So what I usually do is my left leg first, and then I match it with my right. And the reason for that as well is I have noticed there's small little imbalance within my legs. My left leg is a little bit smaller than my right. So, you know, in terms of stimulus, I'm still getting good stimulus towards my right leg, but I'm also driving a little bit more stimulus towards my left leg, which needs to be brought up to obviously create a little bit more balance to my physique. Then moving on to hyperextension. So this is like a glute ham bias. So what I'm focusing on here is the hips kind of shifting back with my upper body, obviously leaning towards the floor. And then just really focusing on like driving as much kind of pressure and tension through the hamstrings and the glutes and activating them as much as I possibly can. And then once I've reached failure on this movement with the machine, I then work into to just body weight hyperextensions after that, just to get, again, just a little bit more out of the movement. Only one set here as well, one set on the Bulgarians, so I try to just get as much as I possibly can out of each set. So like you can see here, straight into just body weight. Usually by this point, because I'm fairly fatigued and I've obviously reached failure with load, I can only get a couple reps with body weight, and that's exactly how it should be. You know, if I could get 20 reps with body weight, there's something going wrong there, especially with the loading set prior. Then moving on to adductor. So just running the adductor at one set at the moment on each leg day. The reason for that is I'm still nursing a very, very small adductor kind of niggle. It's not an injury, it's just a bit of a niggle, and I feel it a little bit when moving into that stretch position. So just using the stack here for one set, being very, very controlled, especially as you can see here going into that stretch position. I'm just being very, very mindful and not taking it kind of into an overstretch position where, you know, my adductor is going to be a little bit more vulnerable. So I think I got the stack here for 10 or 11 reps, which again I'm just kind of holding, trying to nick a rep here and there, but not really, you know, going kind of full throttle with the adductor at the moment. Just mainly just focusing on a mind to muscle connection and just getting an overall good connection with the movement. I think it's very easy to get very, very strong at adductors. I've been there before. You know, I've put 3-4 plates on this machine on top of the stack, and yeah, I think that a lot of people could just benefit more from just focusing on the internal feel, really. Then moving on to the last kind of 2 exercises of the session, which are supersetted. So we've got the lying leg raise with a bench. Again, having the lower back off the bench, so allowing kind of full pelvis movement. Anything to do with like midsection training, you want to really focus on just spinal movement. So I'm focusing here on like the lower spine movement, so spinal flexion and extension, and just driving my legs up to the ceiling. The reason I like these over kind of a hanging is they're actually going to be heavier within that lengthened portion, which is going to be a little bit more ideal and kind of a bit of a better kind of bang for your buck in terms of stimulus. Then moving on to the last exercise, so that this is supersetted with the lying leg raise, just a toe press, nothing too crazy. Again, just creating a straight leg and then allowing my ankle to kind of get into full flexion, and just pressing up, really, not really overthinking it. I do like to usually do these prior to my hacks, because I found that sometimes within a squat pattern I can get some calf issues, but luckily enough I haven't run into any of that within this off season so far. So yeah guys, that is the voiceover. I hope everyone has enjoyed. Hopefully everyone's liked the video as well, and a little bit of a different style with the voiceover. If you have, make sure you leave a like on the video, comment down below, and subscribe if you're new. Cheers.